Good morning, everyone. It's your girl, BeeSparrow, BuzzzTweet Talk Radio. How y'all doing today? Shout out to the No Audience Podcast, BuzzzTweet Radio. I just came across this article that I have to read. I have already fetched it, so there is no need for me to go and fetch it. And this is according to the New York Post. Of course, y'all know that's where I go. The jury weighs death sentence for Florida man who killed wife with a bat and murdered her 4 children. Oh, white on white crime. No one talks about it. Can I even say that? Anyway, a jury will decide the fate of a Florida man who beat his wife to death with a baseball bat in 2019 before he murdered her 4 small children over several days and stored their bodies in tote bags. Michael Wayne Jones, 41, has already pleaded guilty to the shocking slayings, and the panel will now decide if he gets life in prison or the death sentence at an ongoing penalty phase trial. Defense attorney points to Jones's deep dysfunctional upbringing as grounds for the lesser punishment, while prosecutors are pushing for his execution. Y'all know if this was a black man, he would have already been executed. Jones told arresting officers that the horrific killing spree kicked off in July 2019 after his wife, Casey Jones, Casey, C-A-S-E-I. Now, I ain't saying that's how you pronounce it, but that's how it looked to me. God rest her soul. She accused him of infidelity after looking through his phone. He recounted to police that she poked him with a baseball bat during an escalating argument in their Marion County home and that he beat her to death with it in a rage. The 4 kids, 2 of whom he fathered, were asleep at the time. Jones wrapped his wife's body in blankets, placed it in a large tote bag, and put it in a closet. Scheming to make it appear that she was still alive, he used her cell phone to post items to her social media accounts, according to the Star Banner. The following day, Jones took his 2 stepchildren, Preston Bowers, who was 4, and Cameron Bowers, who was 8, to stay with their father as he frantically devised a plan to cover up his wife's murder. He then dropped off the 2 girls he shared with his wife, Markelly Jones, 2, and Ayana Jones, 11 months, with his spouse's mother. But with the school year fast approaching, Jones grew concerned that the boys' absence would spark questions from staffers at Fruitland Park Elementary. Weeks before they were due in class, Jones dragged Cameron out of his bed and fatally strangled him on the floor, he told detectives. He then put the child's body in a suitcase. The next day, Jones said he choked Preston with a zip tie before drowning him in a bathtub and then putting his corpse into a suitcase. Several days later, Jones told detectives he drove with his 2 young daughters and parked outside a police station, planning to turn himself in, but he eventually backed out of the plan, instead opting to drown both tots in a bathtub and putting both of their bodies into a single tote bag. Shaken, investigators asked Jones why he killed. This is really sad. Why he killed the children, I don't know. Just everything mounted up, and it seemed like the way out, according to Martin County Sheriff's Office documents. That's what his excuse was. That's what he said. I don't know. It just seemed like the right thing to do. Jones was ultimately arrested on September 15th of 2019 after he was involved in a single-car accident and a deputy responded to the scene. The officer immediately detected the overwhelming stench of a decomposing body, and Jones told him to get some handcuffs readied. Wow, Jones told him to get the handcuffs. Investigators found his wife's body inside a tote bag in his minivan. Jones then led detectives to the bodies of the children who he had dumped in a remote, wooded area. His defense attorney argued that his traumatic upbringing, including molestation at the hands of his father and abuse from a violent stepfather, damaged his mental health from an early age. Those factors, they argue, call for life in prison rather than death. They assert that Jones, who also has 3 kids from a prior marriage, entered a psychotic spiral that culminated in the murders. These excuses that they have for white people is almost laughable. But prosecutors reject these or those defenses, arguing that the heinous killings warranted an execution. A sister of Casey Jones testified at the trial last week, tearfully telling the court that her nephew Cameron was a sweet, loving little guy, according to the outlet. She also described their 2 sisters as princesses. Just wow.